welcome to another week of Urban Homesteader Cooking for the Week. I am your host, Tammy Wolf, and today we're going to be cooking a whole bunch of things. First of all, we're going to be cooking cashew sauce, and I looked it up and I looked up a bunch of recipes and I found a way to make 5 different cashew sauces with the same base. So this is definitely for my vegan friends. You're going to love it. I also am going to be making some pumpkin bread. I'm going to be making some fried rice, a big thing of fried rice for the week. Of course, I'm going to be making popcorn. I'm going to make some vegan ice cream as well. I'm also going to be getting some lunches together and some other dinner ideas. So stay with me, and remember, you're going to be doing this with me for about an hour and a half to 2 hours of cooking on a Sunday so that you can have food for the whole week. So let's begin. Okay, to be efficient with our time, I want you to know what I've already made. First of all, I've boiled up a dozen eggs because remember, my family loves hard-boiled eggs. So it's a really great source of protein. I've got those already boiling. I also made a batch of brown rice. I'm right now cooking bacon so that I can have that in our fried rice. Those of you that are vegetarian, just omit the bacon. I have that in my oven right now. I just lay the bacon out on a pan and put it in the oven at 350 for about 30 minutes. It comes out perfectly. Then I also have cooking right behind me. I've got breakfast sausages. I'm cooking up a whole package of those, and I'm just going to put them in the fridge so that we can reheat them and have them with scrambled eggs during the week for breakfasts. I also want you to know that I am not making from scratch pumpkin bread. I got a box of pumpkin bread mix, all organic, non-GMO, from Sprouts, and I'm going to be making that with some pumpkin puree, just plain pumpkin puree, right over here in my KitchenAid. So that's going to be mixing. I'm going to pop that in as soon as my bacon is done. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to get a whole bunch of veggies ready for our stir fry. So first, what I've got right here is a bunch of celery. I'm not going to use all of this. I think I'm going to use a third of it for our fried rice, but I'm just going to cut it nice and simple. The rest of the celery, I'm going to go ahead and cut into slices to put away for lunches for a quick snack for the week. So I've got this going on. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to prep a whole bunch of other veggies. I'm going to saute them while my bacon is cooking. I'm going to just saute them really lightly, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to put it all together to make a big batch of fried rice. Okay, so you might be wondering, how did you come up with this great idea to make fried rice? Well, the other weekend, when I went away for Labor Day weekend, we had tons of people up at a cabin. There was about 26, I think, on Saturday night. And we had a ton of food that we needed to make sure that we ate and finished so that we didn't have a lot of stuff that we were bringing home. So my friend on Sunday got everything out of the fridge and put it out on the table. And she said, sometimes I just let food speak to me. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. So I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I just put it out there, and I'm like, okay, this is what we need to make with all this food. She's like, I just let the food speak to me. And I said, that's such an awesome thing to do with leftovers. And she said, that's how I cook all the time. And I'm like, what? You don't have a plan? And she said, no, I just go to the grocery store and I get food and then I lay it all out at home and I let it speak to me. My mind was blown. I don't do that, but I do that with leftovers. So I spoke to the leftovers and I let the leftovers speak to me. And I said, what should I make for cooking for the week? And my leftovers said, make fried rice. So the reason is, remember last week I made this huge Who Hut style of like all of us making our own fried like yummy bowls of stuff with tons of veggies. Well, I had some left over, but they're starting to kind of wilt and they're not as happy anymore. But I think they're going to be happy if I give them a light fry and mix them in with fried rice. So what I'm going to do, I have some of my purple cauliflower left over. It's so pretty. I've got a bunch of different peas, and I've got tomatoes from my garden, and I have still some shredded cabbage and some regular broccoli. So I've got my pan hot and my oil going over here, and I'm just going to go ahead and fry all this together, lightly fry it just for a second. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that off the stove, put it in a bowl. Then I'm going to take my cooked brown rice and I'm going to fry it with some oil, coconut oil, and I'm going to fry it till it gets till some of it actually browns up and gets a little crispy. Then I'm going to mix it all together with some of my crumbled bacon, and I'm going to scramble up some eggs and put that in there too. So watch me while I put this all together. Okay, you can probably hear it, but I've got my KitchenAid mixing up my pumpkin bread. So that's mixing right there. Meanwhile, my fried sauteed veggies are looking amazing. Let me show you. Is that like the most beautiful thing you've ever seen? So my leftovers spoke to me, and this is what I have right now. I'm going to dump these in a bowl, and I'm going to start my fried rice in here right now. My bacon is done, and so I have that draining. My bacon is draining. I'm going to use a teeny tiny bit of the bacon grease for the oil for cooking up my fried rice, just to give it some flavor. So I wanted to give you that little tip and trick also. So stay with me. I'm going to go ahead as soon as my pumpkin bread is done mixing. I'm going to put it in the oven. And pumpkin bread takes a while. It's kind of like zucchini bread. It'll probably take about 50 minutes to bake. So I'm going to put those, I'm going to make 2 loaves of that for breakfast. So that's what I'm doing right now. And then watch me with the fried rice. Okay, so I've got my rice frying right now. The key to good fried rice is to get your pan smoking hot. Then add the oil, and I'm cooking with coconut oil because it can withstand high temperatures. And then go ahead and put your rice in once that oil is nice and hot too, and then it won't stick. Remember, I put a little bit of bacon grease in there too. I just want you to know that I'm stirring it. I'm just letting it sit on about medium, and I'm just stirring it in here. I put a little salt and pepper in here, and that's about it. So I'm going to cook this fried rice for about 8 minutes, just until it gets a little bit crispy. A couple of things that I love to put in my fried rice when I make it are those little baby corns that you get in a can, and also water chestnuts. Well, I don't have that right now. So, but I do have artichoke hearts, and I think they have such an awesome flavor. These are just canned in water, organic. So I have not fried these up. I'm just going to go ahead and throw them in here with all my veggies. Remember our awesome stir-fry veggies from before. This is what it looks like right now. Yum! So I also have some organic gluten-free tamari that I'm going to go ahead and put in here for some flavoring too. So as soon as my rice is done, I'm going to add it to this. I'm going to stir it together, and I'm going to go ahead and scramble about 4 eggs to add with the whole thing, and then I'm going to add my tamari. In the meantime, my pumpkin bread is done mixing, so I'm going to quick put those into the 2 loaves and stick them into the oven. So here we go in our multitasking, getting things ready for the week. Okay, the rice is done. So are my eggs. So here's what it's looking like right now. I've already put in the tamari. I'm going to go ahead and stir this a little bit. Then I'm going to put the cooked scrambled eggs in it also. I also have bacon. Remember I told you I cooked up a bunch? I'm going to take about 5 slices. It's really crispy. And I'm just going to go ahead and mix it right in there and just crumble it all in. So that's what I'm going to do for our fried rice. I'm going to be adding the eggs here in just a second. And then our fried rice, which is going to be one of our meals this week, is done. And there is plenty in here for my husband and I to have for lunches as well. So stay tuned and I'll show you what it all looks like. Okay, fried rice is done. I just want you to know that I always add pepper and salt to the fried rice, the rice part when I'm frying it. Then when it all goes in here is when I add the tamari and then a little bit more pepper, because tamari's soy sauce is so salty. Anyway, I just mix it and flavor it to taste. And is that just unbelievable? So good. Kids love it. This is going to be one of our meals and some of our lunches this week. I'm going to set that aside. Now what I'm going to do is I have some little mini flour tortillas. And what I want to do is get some things prepped for my kids' lunches. So half of these I'm going to go ahead and make peanut butter and jelly rolls out of them, or wraps out of them. I'm going to put peanut butter on one side, jelly on the other. I know that might sound weird, but then when you roll it, the two don't mix and get kind of funky. I'm going to roll them and I'm going to put them right here back inside the bag. The other half, I'm going to make peanut butter and Nutella ones. So then what my kids will do, and I'm going to freeze them. So what they're going to do is they're going to grab one, stick it in their lunch in the morning, and by the time it's lunchtime, it will be completely thawed. And I have little recycled lunch bags that have like little zippers. So they'll put it in there so that they're not using baggies. I do like baggies, you know this, but I try not to use them all the time. So let's go ahead and start assembling our wraps for the kids' lunches. By the way, I wanted to give you a little hint about what makes stuff like this go quicker. Instead of having them all in a nice little stack and doing one with half the peanut butter and then half the jelly, rolling and putting it aside and do it, I have a little assembly line going. So I have my peanut butter ready to go. I got my jelly ready too, but I'm going to go peanut butter, peanut butter, peanut butter, peanut butter, peanut butter, peanut butter, then jelly, 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 jelly. Then I'm going to roll them all and put them away. This is another one of those time saver things. It's just a little tip, little trick to go ahead and start making your Sundays go a little quicker. The other thing that I wanted to tell you that I have is, don't forget I've got my pumpkin bread going for breakfast. My daughter loves having cold pasta, just plain, with a little bit of Parmesan cheese. So what I'm going to do is right here behind me, I've got my water boiling. And so while I'm doing this, I'm going to cook up some pasta so that she can have that in her lunches as well. She likes these too, but sometimes she just likes plain pasta with parm. So I'm going to do that as well. So here we go. I just wanted to show you what this looks like, all assembly lined up together. I have some organic mango jelly that's here, and then also some organic strawberry jam that's here. So I'm just going to go ahead and wrap these up and make our little wraps, and I'm going to put them nice and neatly back in here. And so that's how I'm going to store them. And they freeze really nicely. I wouldn't just put them in the fridge if I were you, because I've done that before, and by the end of the week, the jelly can just kind of make the whole tortilla kind of a mushy mess. So this works really well, and it keeps it from being mushy, and it can totally freeze, and it's no problem at all. I'm making a whole bunch here. My kiddos will grab one, put it in their recyclable lunch bag, and then bring the lunch bag home, and they can grab another one the next day. So that's what it's going to look like. I'm going to work on my Nutella ones in just a second, and then I'm going to put these in the freezer. I'm doing some assembly right now that I wanted to talk to you about. Remember the celery that I had from before? Well, I put it into some Ziploc bags, and I want you to see what I do for my kids and then what I do for my husband and myself. So first of all, for my kids, I put everything into this Ziploc, and I recycle this over and over and over and over and over. I've got hard-boiled eggs in it. I've got a couple things of yogurt, sun butter in its own little container, some cheese sticks, and then some celery sticks. And because I've been making lunches with my kids since they were in about second grade, I go ahead and put everything in here, and then what we do is I just pull this baggie out and I put it right here on the counter, and I say, okay, take from it what you want, for your lunch tomorrow. And they know that they always have to have a protein, some kind of grain, some kind of fruit, some kind of vegetable. And then that is when we buy seltzers. And so their drink is always seltzer. We make our own seltzer here at home all the time, but I buy seltzer in containers for them. The other thing that I'm doing right now is I am putting together a roast beef and Swiss sandwich for my husband. So I'm just going to be layering roast beef and Swiss cheese. It's really fun. I know microwaves aren't my favorite thing, but when you're at school, it's what you use to heat stuff up. So what he'll do is he can just cut this in half or however he wants to eat it. I already have one assembled in here already. So I'm going to put this together for him, and I'm just going to put it right in here. It will say this will be his lunches for Monday and Tuesday. Then I'm going to go ahead and add some hard-boiled eggs to his as well. Since he's got a fridge, he'll just take this whole thing, and then he's got his lunches and snacks. So I'm going to put some eggs in here too, and some celery for him as well. And then I'm going to assemble mine, and mine's a little bit different because this week I really want to have some more greens in my lunches and in my diet. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to be making salads in a jar again. I've been keeping these little Noosa yogurt containers. The reason I buy them individual like this is just for the container. I don't like having a lot of things like this. I think it's a lot of waste. But these containers, if you wash them, fit perfectly on the top of a jar. So I'm going to show you that again if you're new to my show so you can see what I'm talking about for when I'm making my salads in a jar. So I'm going to finish putting his together, finish putting some more greens in here. I've got some sugar snap peas for my kids, and then I'm going to show you what I'm going to be doing for my salads. I'm going to show you how I make my salads in a jar. What I'm going to do first is I've got some 50-50 organic blend of baby spring mix and baby spinach, and then I've also got some kale. And I layered in a wide mouth jar those different greens, and I kind of packed them in because I like really big salads. Last week I made hard-boiled eggs, and I had a few left over. I of course made some for this week too. You don't want those hard-boiled eggs to go bad. This is going to be my first lunch. I've got my little mini Noosa cleaned out container. What I did with those eggs from last week was I just quick made an egg salad. I like mine super simple with dill, salt, and pepper. So, and a little mayonnaise. So anyway, I'm going to pack it in here because this is going to be my protein. I'm going to mix this with the salad when I get to work. So here it is, all packed in. This is 3 eggs worth. And what I'm going to do, this is so fun. When I saw this and discovered all the different things that you can use for this, I was like amazed. So here's my jar lid. I'm going to put it this way on my egg salad and put it here. And then you put the ring over it and you just screw it on the top. And voila, I've got my salad in a jar with the top. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the same thing. I have some cottage cheese. I'm going to pack another one, and I'm going to put cottage cheese in my Noosa container, and I'm going to pop that on the top too for lunch number 2. And then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with this leftover roast beef for me for my next lunch. So I'm packing in my 50-50 blend, packing in my baby kale, and then I'm going to go ahead and get a different spoon. I'm going to go ahead and put my cottage cheese in my Noosa container. What's nice about these Noosa containers is you can't pack too much in. What I mean by that is it's like not a huge container. So here we go. And then I'm going to pop it on the top. Oh, and there's our pumpkin bread. So I'm going to take that out too, and I'll show you what it looks like. The next thing that I'm going to do is I've got another wide mouth jar, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take, I've got some cabbage leaves from a head of cabbage, and I washed them, and I'm gonna just fold them up. They're gonna become my bread. I'm gonna wrap them with some of my beef that I have right here. And then on the top, I'm gonna go ahead and add some of my cottage cheese again. Then what I'm gonna do when I get to school is I'm gonna open this whole thing up and I'm going to take them out and make myself little sandwich wraps. So excited. Okay, I've got something else going on here that I wanted to show you. I'm also going to pre-roast a chicken so that all I have to do later this week is just heat it. So I've got my chicken with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil on it, salt and pepper, and then I've got asparagus like sort of dancing around it in the roasting pan. And what I want to tell you about is that I don't know how many people know this, but asparagus has a natural breaking point. And what I mean by that is instead of cutting your asparagus like to have a nice neat little row at the bottom, if you simply snap the end, it will snap where it's not woody anymore. And then you'll never get tough asparagus. So I think that's kind of cool and a little tip and a trick that I learned from my mom. All right, so a while ago, I picked some lavender. It's not English lavender. Lavender is also a sage. So I've got my sprig right here, and I am going to just put this, sprinkle my lavender on top of my chicken because it'll give it a nice sage taste. I'm gonna bake this also, 350. I'm gonna check it in about 40 minutes. And then we'll be done with cooking for the week. Because remember I said, it doesn't take any longer than an hour and a half, tops 2. When we come back I'm gonna put this in the oven, and when I come back to you, I'm gonna have prepped on the table, I'm gonna be making some vegan ice cream. So I'm super excited to try it. I've never done it before. I think it's gonna work magnificently. But I'm gonna have everything out and ready to show you so that we can make that together. Other than that, I have some popcorn that I'm gonna pop for kids for snacks. And then the last thing that I wanna show you is what's called a cashew sauce. We're gonna make a base, and then I'm gonna make 5 different sauces with it, or I'm gonna do 5 different things with it. My in-laws were the ones that introduced me to cashew cheese sauce, which you make by adding nutritional yeast, and I'll tell you about that. But I'm gonna also be making 4 other kinds. So the nutritional yeast one is like an Alfredo for pasta. It's really, really good. And then I'm gonna highlight 4 different ones that when I was searching online, I found cashew sauce 5 different ways. So ice cream first, then cashew sauce. Okay, so I've got our frozen bananas. I'm gonna be making ice cream. A friend of mine calls this nice cream. I think that's cute because she's vegan and she likes to have ice cream but doesn't want the cream part. So anyway, here's what I did. First of all, I froze bananas whole. They were starting to turn, and so I just stuck them in the freezer. I don't recommend this. I just figured that out. Before, I've used frozen bananas for things before, but I usually peel them, cut them, and stick them in the freezer that way. This time I got lazy, and I just put them in whole. And I want to tell you why. I just spent like way too long peeling these things. They're really difficult to peel. And you want your bananas to be frozen, otherwise it's really hard to make them into ice cream. So I've made banana ice cream before, and it's easy to do. I've just never made this particular recipe, and before, when I did it, I cut them up and then put them into the freezer instead of doing what I'm doing right now, which is ridiculously time consuming. They don't peel. Anyway, so anyway, here we go. Gonna cut these up, get the peels off of them. I am making a double recipe. The recipe is on the attachment for Cooking for the Week 5. So anyway, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put them into my food processor, and you're just gonna pulse it until they're crumbly, okay? And then you're going to get your coconut cream. And how do you make coconut cream? Well, I'm glad you asked. What you do is you take a can of coconut milk and you put it in the fridge. What happens is the cream part gets nice and hard, and the watery part just kind of sits at the bottom. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I have my coconut cream in there since this morning. I'm going to skim the cream part off the top, and that's going to be what I put in here. So first I'm going to pulse this to make it crumbly. And I gotta make sure it's turned on. There we go. This is on the struggle bus. Okay, here we go. Having technical difficulties. Okay, so sorry, there was something wrong with my lid and now it's fine. So here's my coconut milk. I put it in the fridge. You'll see the coconut milk, the cream hardened at the top. So I'm just gonna go ahead and scoop out that cream. At the bottom, there is some water. So just the coconut water, not much though. So remember, I'm doubling the recipe and I need to get this cream out completely. So here we go. And I'm gonna add it. I'm also going to add my homemade vanilla extract and my maple syrup. So for a single batch, you're supposed to have 3 frozen bananas, a half a cup of coconut cream, a half teaspoon of vanilla extract, and I'm gonna put in a full teaspoon. And then you're supposed to have 1 to 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. So I'm gonna put in 4. And then you blend all of that together until it's creamy. Then I'm going to put it into a separate bowl, and I'm going to add my carob chips, because remember this is vegan. And I'm going to add unsweetened coconut flakes and some slivered almonds. I'm making my mock rocky road. So we'll see how it works. I have to get more maple syrup. And I'm going to blend it. And then we'll show you what it looks like. So it's blending. I'm going to help it out a little bit and push some of it down right now. And then I'm going to keep blending it until it's totally all blended together. So here we go. This is pretty awesome so far, I'm not going to lie. So I just really think that this recipe, if you were going to be making this, you could use this base for any ice cream or nice cream. So we're going to go ahead and get this out of here and put it into this bowl. And then I am going to add my carob. We're going to make our cashew sauce. First, what we have to do is you need to have totally unroasted, unsalted, everything, just raw cashews. And you put them in your Vitamix and you cover them with just enough water so that they're submerged. And this is our base. Once we create the base, then we can make different sauces with the cashew base. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to make is I'm going to take a clove of garlic and I'm going to have some of my nutritional yeast and some salt, and I'm going to make an Alfredo sauce. You're going to also need to have 1 vegetable bouillon cube. So I'm going to mix this base. And I'm going to add my vegetable bouillon cube to that and some of my nutritional yeast. And I'm going to go ahead and get my minced garlic, and I'm going to put in about a clove of that as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and mix this up, and that's going to be my Alfredo sauce for later. I'm going to rinse this out, and I'm going to make another base and show you another one in a second. Okay, now I'm going to make a second base. To this one, I'm going to go ahead and add a dollop of our coconut milk. Remember that? I'm going to also add a little bit of maple syrup. And I'm going to put in a tiny little bit of nutmeg. And I am making creamer for my coffee in the morning. A little bit more water to this one. I'm going to blend it. This one I am not going to freeze. I'm going to put it right into the fridge in a jar. Again, I'm going to wash this out, and then I'll be right back with you to show you the next one. So I'm going to do the same thing. This time I'm going to add a tiny bit of apple cider vinegar to it. And when I say a tiny bit, just watch, just like whoop, that much. And then I have my microplane here, and I'm going to get some lime zest in here, which is the rind from the lime. And this makes a sour cream. It's not like sour cream regular, but if you're vegan and you miss sour cream, this is really good. This one you need to go ahead and add just a tiny bit of coconut oil to, little bit, like the smallish smidge. Then you'll put it in the fridge, and that coconut oil will help it harden so that it's the consistency of sour cream. And so with the apple cider vinegar and a little bit of the zest, it actually does a pretty good job. So it's really good on top of all sorts of things, whatever you would have sour cream for. So here we go. I'm going to get my coconut oil. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in a jar and put it in the fridge. All right, the last two, one of them is to make a key lime pie. I am going to show you how to do that next time. The recipe's there, but I'm going to show you how to do it next time. And then, see our sour cream? And then the last one is if you add a can of coconut milk to the cashew sauce and then a little bit of vanilla extract, you can make your own ice cream. So that's how you can use the cashew sauce 5 different ways. So I'm going to recap what we made, and thank you for joining me for Cooking for the Week, Urban to Homesteader, week 5. I hope you tune in next week. Have a lovely day.